Now it's time to talk in detail about the emergency procedures that you may need to do to cut away the main parachute and open up the reserve parachute. The sequence we're going to do for that is look, right, left, arch. And we're going to be practicing this over and over and over until you're really comfortable with this sequence. I'll go ahead and explain the emergency procedures a little bit more and why we do them in this order. On the right side, we have our cutaway handle, and on our left side, we have the reserve handle. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the cutaway handle. We're going to grab it with our right hand, and then over top with our left hand. So we're looking at this handle, and then we're going to look at the reserve handle. The reason we look at the reserve handle is because after you cut away, there is a chance that the reserve handle can move a little bit, and you don't want to have to try and search for it. So before we pull the cutaway handle, we have a good look at the reserve handle. So part of the look sequence is grabbing the cutaway handle. So from the beginning, look, I'm going to pull right, full arm extension, grab the reserve handle with my left hand, pull left, and then back into the arch position. So the sequence again will go look, right, left, arch. There are some free fall decisions that you need to be aware of also. The first, if you're an AFF student, if you lose both instructors, your job is to deploy the main parachute immediately by pulling and throwing the pilot chute. These next two scenarios apply to all jumpers. If you can't find your pilot chute when you try to deploy it, you're going to make one more attempt by slapping your butt and sliding your hand up to find the pilot chute. If you can't find your pilot chute after the second attempt, you're going to go right to deploying your reserve parachute. During deployment, if you find the pilot chute but you can't physically pull it out, you're going to make a second attempt using some leverage with your elbow to pull the pilot chute out. And if that doesn't work after the second attempt, you're going to go straight to deploying your reserve parachute. After you deploy the pilot chute, it is possible for that pilot chute to get stuck in your burble. The burble is the dead space of air just above your back caused by the wind flowing around your body. In order to clear the pilot chute hesitation, you'll want to rotate your shoulders a little bit and look over your shoulder to change the airflow over your body so that the pilot chute catches air and deploys normally. If your container becomes open before you throw the pilot chute, it can cause a horseshoe malfunction. In this scenario, the pilot chute is still tucked in the bottom of the container. The first thing to do is try to pull that pilot chute out into the airstream. Now, because the bag could already be a little twisted, once you pull that pilot chute, it is possible and likely to have a malfunction main parachute, so be ready for the emergency procedures. If you can't find the pilot chute or you can't physically pull the pilot chute out of the bottom of the container, go straight to your emergency procedures, look, right, left. Now we'll go into more detail about the canopy decisions. So after you deploy the parachute, it takes about 3 or 5 seconds for that parachute to open, and then you're going to go through the decision questions. Is it there? Is it square? Is it steerable? When we ask, is it there, we're not talking about the pilot chute or the bag that contains the main parachute. We're talking about the main parachute itself. Now, is it square? We're going to explain that a little bit more. When we talk about square, we can talk about mostly square, or is it rectangle shape? If it's mostly square or rectangle shape, usually we're going to be able to make sure it's safe to land. So once we determine that it's square or mostly square, we're going to see if we can steer the canopy. Is it steerable? We're going to do a controllability check. 2 flares, left turn, right turn, and a full flare. The way these questions work is that if you get a no on any of the questions, go straight to the emergency procedures. Question number 1, is it there? If the answer is no, you don't need to see if the canopy is square. You don't need to see if it's steerable. Go ahead and execute the emergency procedures. Now, if the canopy is there and the canopy is square, but it does not pass the steerability controllability check, you'll still need to cut it away with the emergency procedures. Your decision altitude for emergency procedures, like we talked about before, is 2,500 feet. By 2,500 feet, you have to make the decision on whether you're going to land with your main parachute or cut away and use your reserve parachute. Then at 2,000 feet is your landing pattern decision altitude, and you have to decide whether you can make it back to the landing area or if you need to find an alternate landing area. Now we're going to go over some specific examples. Here's the first scenario. Question 1, is it there? Well, when we look up, we see the pilot chute, but we don't see any main canopy. In this situation, we're going to go right to the emergency procedures. Look, right, left, arch. Again, if it's not there, we don't need to go on to the second question. All right, next scenario. Is it there? Well, we look up, we see the deployment bag that contains the main parachute, but we don't see the main parachute. So the answer is no. The main parachute is not there. Go straight to the emergency procedures. This one is just a little bit different. In this case, we've deployed the pilot chute, but the bridle has wrapped around our leg or our arm or some part of our body. We're going to try twice to clear it, and then if we can't clear it, we're going to go through the exact same questions. So you're going to clear it by either pointing your arm straight, trying to unravel your arm, kicking your leg straight, trying to kick the bridle off of your leg. Again, try twice and go straight to the same questions. Look up. Is it there? Well, if it's still caught, the answer is no, and you're going to go right to the emergency procedures.